class, as you can see from the board, we're going to be doing our bell ringers on stative and dynamic verbs today, using sort of lyrical analysis. And of course, this is looking forward to our final projects, which we'll be doing in small groups. So this is the first day that I'm going to start working on the final project. It's a large portion of your overall grades, so we're just gonna chip away at it, and we're gonna start with you guys, as you can see, writing about your favorite songs and your favorite song lyrics. I want at least 2 lines from y'all. I know that some people are not great at remembering song lyrics verbatim, so do your best. Just be creative with the words that you can't remember, and that will actually help you moving forward to prepare for writing your own song. So remember the best you can, and like I say, I need at least 2 lines, 2 to 4 ideally, that would be optimal. So write those down, and then I want at least 3 reasons why these are your favorite lyrics of all time. And so we are going to do that. I'm going to give you all about 10 minutes to work on that, and then we'll dive in more to the lesson I have planned today on stative and dynamic verbs. 10 minutes goes by. Okay, so before we get started with my volunteers, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the difference between stative and dynamic verbs. Basically, it can seem confusing sometimes, but the most simple way to go about remembering the difference is if a verb has a clear beginning and an end. So I know you guys have heard in elementary school that verbs are action words, which is actually true only about half the time, because that's what we refer to as dynamic verbs. So dynamic verbs are the action verbs. They have a clear beginning and an end. So things like eat, sing, speak. These are verbs describing somebody's actions that start at one point in time and then have a clear end point in time as well. But the stative verbs are ongoing. So just keep that in mind. Moving forward, we're going to apply working knowledge of that to what we've written and some lyrics that I have brought in for us to analyze today. So let's go ahead with the volunteers. For 3 extra points, who wants to read their bell ringer?
Ooh, me.
Yes, Jacob.
This is my favorite song lyric because even though he's all messed up, he still knows he's lit F because he was born that way and nobody can change what's in your DNA, yo.
Okay, let's hear it.
Loyalty got royalty inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA. I was born like this, hence one like this inside my DNA.
All right. So, good job, Jacob. Kendrick Lamar, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I know of him because he recently got a Pulitzer. So, no, he's a serious writer, and I know you are too. So, very good. Next, let's see. How about Julio?
Okay, this is my favorite song by Kanye West. The lyrics because he's telling the truth about how crooked everything is, and sometimes it feels like all you can do is pray about it, man.
Okay, let's hear it.
Before you ask me to go get a job today, can I at least get a raise on the minimum wage? And I know the government administer aid, so I guess we'll just pray like the ministers say.
All right. I like that, Julio. Very hopeful, uplifting. You don't see that a lot in rap. And yeah, great choice. And I like your meaningful response as to why it's your favorite. So Let's hear from Marlene.
Okay, mine are by Ariana Grande. These are my favorite lyrics because she's talking about how much stronger she is for the pain she went through instead of just crying about it like most singers. She's all boy bye, thanks for the experience because it helped me grow, and also I'm having better conversations with my new man.
Sounds good. Let's hear it.
One taught me love, one taught me patience, one taught me pain. Now I'm so amazing, look at what you taught me. And for that I say thank you, next.
All right. I do enjoy that song. So, seems like you guys have a pretty great grip on what's going on today and applying that to the assignments. But just to make sure, I want to delve a little bit deeper before y'all get started. Because there are some words that can be a little bit confusing with the state of verbs. So I definitely want to go over that to clear up any sort of confusion. So dynamic verbs, like I say, are action verbs such as play, melt, hit. We can use it in the way of she plays tennis every Friday. You know, there's definitely a clear end and beginning to that. She's playing tennis right now. Once again, clear end and beginning. The snow melts every spring. The snow is melting right now. When one boxer hits another, brain damage can cause results. Brain damage can result. These are all examples of dynamics. That's pretty straightforward. I think you guys have a pretty firm grasp on that. So stative verbs, like I say, are a little bit tricky. Stative verbs usually refer to a state or condition which is quite static or unchanging. They can be divided into verbs of perception or cognition. Okay, so perception refers to things of the mind. Okay, and or verbs of relation, which describe the relationship between things. So here are some examples. So there's perception and then there's relation. Okay, so hate, as in I hate chocolate, that's perception. Okay, so that's ongoing. So that will always be true. Believe, that's once again perception. She believes in UFOs. Once again, no clear end or beginning. Contain, the box contains 24 cans of soda. So you guys see what I'm talking about with this state of being that is applied to stative verbs as opposed to dynamic. So we're going to do some examples. So sing, is that stative or dynamic? Yes, Julio.
Dynamic?
Okay, good. How about two more? Because you guys seem to be understanding this quite well. Think. It's a little bit tricky. Is think stative or dynamic? Yes. Marlene.
Dynamic?
Think. Well, I'm glad that we are discussing this one because there are a few that, given the context, can actually be both. So definitely want you guys to keep that in mind, moving forward. So if we say thought, obviously that has a clear beginning and end. But if we say was thinking or was thinking, that also has a clear beginning and end. But I think this, there's not a clear beginning and end to that. So that's what you focus on, and that will always help you figure out the difference. Even if it's both, and it may seem a little bit muddled sometimes, ask yourself that question, and that will clear up any confusion. So does anybody have any questions whatsoever about the difference between stative and dynamic verbs. Okay, so good. Let's do a worksheet. I'm gonna pass this around, and I want y'all can take about, I would say, 10 minutes to work on that, and then I'm going to discuss the next part of the lesson, which will be about your final project for next time. So just turn it into the tray when you're done, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so from what you guys have turned in, it seems like we're moving right along with this lesson plan, so that's great news. Although there was one thing that I wanted to touch on again, because like I say, the only thing that is somewhat confusing for L2 learners in this new concept of verb differentiation is the it's kind of like a Venn diagram. You guys, we use the Venn diagram for many examples in this class, and that is because many things do intersect sometimes as far as what we've been learning. So the Venn diagram of this, in the middle, like I say, we do sometimes have those verbs that can belong to both categories of stative and dynamic. So I just wanted to give a couple more examples so you guys have optimal clarity on that. So if I were to say, so let's use think again. Okay, well we already did that one. So let's use mind. If I were to say, I don't mind if you do that, what do you think that would be, stative or dynamic? Yes, Evan.
Stative?
I don't mind if you do. Actually, in this context, it would be dynamic because there is a clear beginning and an end. But let me actually elaborate more, because context is everything when looking at these words that fall into both categories. So if I were to say, I don't mind if you go out to the game on Friday night, that would be dynamic. But if I were to say, I don't mind loud music, that's stative. So you see how it can be a little muddled sometimes, and we just have to kind of, search our way through and use the beginning and end that I, have been hitting on this entire class period to clear up that confusion. Because it can be confusing. So let's do one more. What about have? So if I were to say, I have the best mom in the world, would that be stative or dynamic? Yes, Julio.
Stative?
Very good, because that's something that is ongoing. So what about if I were to say, I had the best time with you last night? Is this stative or dynamic? Yes, Marissa.
Dynamic?
Very good. Okay, so y'all are starting to grasp this concept very deeply, and that's exciting. Let me now read to you guys from the lyrics that I brought that will kind of help y'all get the creative juices flowing. Yes. Okay. So these are from Tupac Shakur. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he was a very famous rapper when I was growing up, and very eloquent writer. Super unconventional, which is okay in art. Sometimes it's even for the betterment of art in general, because it allows us to see things in new ways, which is basically the basis of what we do artistically every time we sit down to create something new. So I'm going to read two raps that he wrote in an English class, just like this one, when he was growing up. So this one is called The Rose That Grew from Concrete. And I want you guys to be cognizant of the verbs while I'm reading, and raise your hand if you can tell me if they're stative or dynamic. And remember, you're going to be writing your own. I want you guys to write at the very least 4 lines, your own lyrics. So you're going to be writing your own lyrics after this, and you're going to be applying working knowledge of stative and dynamic verbs to your own lyric formations. And then we're going to take that even further next week when we start on our final project of choosing a book to write our raps about and base our lyrics around. So that's going to make it a little bit more challenging, but I know y'all can do it. So, the rose that grew from concrete. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's laws wrong, it learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one even cared. So, who can tell me what is the verb in the first line? Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Yes, Jacob.
Here?
Good. So, is that stative or dynamic?
Dynamic?
Good, and that's the one that can, be a little bit confusing, so great job on that. Due to time constraints, I'm just going to pass around this handout on Tupac's lyrics, and I want you guys to continue to circle and differentiate between dynamic and stative verbs, and turn it in the tray when you're done, and I'll look forward to seeing what you guys have for me.